Good evening and welcome to another edition of EverybodyHatesCleveland.com, the podcast. I'm your host, a slightly hoarse Jim Pete, still recovering from LeBron James' last-second shot a few nights ago against the Bulls. But we're not here to talk about Cleveland Cavaliers basketball in the midst of their playoff run. We're actually here to talk about strikeouts, and not one, not two, not three. And those of you that are listening to this, I'm not going through them all, but of course, Corey Kluber made history tonight, 18 strikeouts, tied a record with a little-known pitcher for the Indians named Bob Feller. Of course, if you've been watching Twitter, you've seen people tweet that about a million times, as well as the fact that nobody has thrown 18 strikeout games since 1998 with Roger Clemens. Joined, as always, is EHC's Mike Hattery. And the reason why I pulled Mike Hattery into this is because about 3 or 4 days ago, Mike tweeted or texted me about writing a piece on Kluber and wanted to make sure he got it up before start. We were backlogged with pieces. We had a ton of stuff going up over the past few days. So unfortunately, Mike's piece didn't get up until midnight today, but his piece was queued up and ready to go 2 days ago. Mike, I hate to call you like some sort of like warlock, but you seem to have nailed Kluber. We've been talking about Kluber quite a bit. You've been pretty content with the way he's been pitching. Talk a little bit about. I don't think anybody expected 18 strikeouts, but this really isn't too far from the Kluber that we've seen over the past really year.
Yeah, this is just, first of all, I think sometimes you get really – I got really lucky, and I'll talk about, the great things, but I think the first thing is this is back-to-back nights in Cleveland. I think we got two of the most impressive performances we've seen in 20 years in Cleveland. You have LeBron hitting a game winner, and the next night Corey Kluber pitches probably the best game I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. It required more capability than most perfect games and no-hitters. No-hitters and perfect games rely on certain contact risks most of the time. Corey Kluber just didn't allow contact tonight, and that's so special. But the thing with Kluber was he was really under – his traditional stats were really underperforming his other stats. When you have, 6 to 8 starts, when – your opponents are hitting 450 on balls in play with runners in scoring position, noisy stuff just gets weird. And the guy was still striking out 9+. He's still the same guy. I'm glad he pitched well tonight so that we can stop talking about this. But it really speaks to more the impatience I think that we have as fans. And I know this is a super boring take because I just watched the best game I've ever seen. It was the best pitching effort I've ever seen. And, this is kind of a boring take, but, we knew he was this special. And with Kluber, Carrasco, and Salazar, you're going to see a no-hitter, and you're going to see a perfect game in the next 2 years. But this was the best effort we'll ever see.
Well, Mike, as you know, my quest to have this sabermetrics kind of meet the old school method. When you talk about something like FIP or XFIP, you and I talk about momentum a lot. And over the years, we've done probably 100 pods together where we've talked about this. When you talk about FIP and XFIP, I think a nice way for an old school guy to look at it is, my big contention this year is that Kluber has run into some issues defensively in a couple of his starts. Just to start before this one, that first inning, he saw that, I believe it was Brandon Moss error before he got any outs. He ended up, I think, getting down 3-0 before he started looking a little bit better. I can't, this is a little hazy. I'm still kind of wavering in this 18 strikeout thing. I think the nice thing about FIP and XFIP is it takes that into account. And you made note today about kind of that differential, that gap between his ERA and his FIP. Talk a little bit about that, Mike. This is where we can look at perhaps how errors kind of affect Kluber in a way that may not show up in the stats.
Yeah, and also I think one of the keys to – you make a really good point. And one of the things I love about FIP and XFIP, and when you talk about BABIP, is if you really watch the games, there will be starts where you'll watch a pitcher And Carrasco's a really good example for anybody who watched the Carrasco start last night. He got nickel and dime by Mark Reynolds. Mark Reynolds didn't hit a single ball hard. He went 3 for 4 and drove in runs last night.
So well, wait a second. Hold on. Because Underwood and Manning were telling me that Reynolds was a new guy. I'm not going to mention how many strikeouts he had tonight. But anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to digress there, Mike. Go ahead.
But no, I think the really awesome thing about FIP and XFIP as a baseball fan is that you get to kind of quantify something that we always see. There are a lot of starts where you'll see Carrasco had 9 Ks last night, a lot of weak contact, but runs scored because some sequencing stuff and hits fell. I think we see this a lot, and especially with the Indians. Kipnis has played great defense, but we look around the infield. Ramirez has really struggled. Chisenhall has been okay, and the outfield defense is really embarrassingly bad, and a lot of balls fall. And so Kluber has this great depth. So FIP measures for strikeouts, walks, hit by pitch, and home runs. So those are skills that we can kind of assign to a pitcher. And those are skills that Kluber's awesome at. He's still striking out over 9. It's going to be 10 now. Over 10, probably 11. I haven't looked at it yet. Per 9, and his walk rate's great. And
unfortunately, he's not to the 13 that Salazar's at, but that's for another day. Go ahead.
He's not. But ultimately,
how sick? I mean, let's just stop for a second. I don't mean to interrupt, but how sick is this rotation? I mean, you have Carrasco get 9 and kind of an iffy start last night. I mean, we got a staff with 4 guys who could put up 10 every single night. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I digress again.
No, I mean, this is the reason why you can't turn out the lights on this team yet. There are teams in Major League Baseball that have records close to ours, and you can turn the lights out, but you can't yet because you have 4 guys who they're likely going to be the best pitcher starting that night every time they go out there. 4 guys. You're 4 deep there. That's awesome. But that's amazing. So basically what happened with Kluber was he was doing the things that he can control really well. He was striking out batters. He was limiting walks. He was limiting base runners. And really fluky things were happening with runners in scoring position. It made him look really bad. And then what happens is we're like, hey, his command looks really questionable, even though his strikeout to walk is still in the top 10 in Major League Baseball. God, I'm really concerned about that. So that really bothered me. That's why I wrote it. That's why it was obvious he was going to rebound. I didn't see him striking out 18 guys tonight. I didn't see the best outing I've ever seen coming. But, this is the really awesome thing. We can kind of see what pitchers can control. And through that, we can kind of see what to expect going forward. And Kluber was just going to pitch. He was going to pitch better, and this was amazing.
Mike, and again, I come back to this momentum thing, and here's some other parts of this start that I like. There are lots of little things to this game that I liked a lot. I like that Francona got thrown out of this game. I liked how Danny Salazar tweeted right after this win with his K comment, and if you didn't see it, it was a great comment where he literally spells out all 18 Ks. I like momentum. I'm all about that. As you kind of briefly touched upon and kind of hit on, this really feels like a start that could build momentum for this team. Kluber seems to be that guy. We talked about this last year, Mike, that he seems to be a guy that people feed off of a little bit. We saw a little bit of that with Salazar's tweet. Salazar's pitching now this world. Is just one of those starts where this rotation starts trying to build off of. I mean, I could see now Trevor Bauer. I could see now Carlos Carrasco. I could see now Danny Salazar kind of taking cue while they're all pitching well or have pitched well at one point or another. Is this why Corey Kluber is so special? While all of these other guys are still trying to find themselves and figure out who they are, this really is who Corey Kluber is. I mean, 18 strikeouts is a surprise, I guess. But how many people are really surprised in Cleveland tonight?
Yeah, I think they're an incredible group, and I think Kluber is such an interesting anchor because that's how he's going to lead. Like, he's going to lead by getting results, and I think that's really why it's frustrating when he wasn't getting traditional results. I think that's why it was really frustrating. I think it's tremendous. I also think that Salazar has actually had a really positive impact on this rotation, keeping it afloat. Kluber, I don't know. That was incredible. But I think tomorrow, we're talking tonight. Tomorrow is one of the biggest games of the season to me. I loved Francona getting tossed. I loved it. I love that he went out to protect Kipnis, who's been busting his frickin' butt this year. This team has been flat, and Kipnis has given it 100% every day, and he's been super productive. And I love that Francona went out and protected Kipnis.
I really wanted Brad Mills to get thrown out of this game too.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really wanted him to get thrown out of this game. I wanted him to get in somebody's grill.
But yeah, I don't know. This is a really exciting outcome. Tomorrow is huge to me. Tomorrow is huge. You go
Noon
take 2 out of 3.
Too. Noon start too. So we're going right back at it.
You take 2 out of 3 from one of the best teams in baseball. Kluber's back to clicking. The rotation looks good. The offense has been solid, now. And I think that's when they get clicking. And honestly, to me, Cody Allen having a clean inning, getting a strikeout, that was really exciting. So many parts of this were really, really exciting tonight. Not seeing Scott Atchison pitch, really exciting to me. So I think this is the best. To me, this is either this. I think we look for watershed moments, and as sabermetrically inclined as you are, you look for these, turning point, pivot point seasons, and Kluber just gave it to you. And whether they take advantage of it or not, this was the moment. This is the moment right here. They have to make the leap now, and if they don't in the next 2 weeks, it's over. But if they can start the leap tomorrow, it's going to be a great, great end of the season.
Well, you mentioned Kipnis, and I want to get to him in a second. I do want to take note, and I meant to do this at the top of the show. Everybody at Everybody Hates Cleveland wants to send out our wishes to Mike Aviles. His daughter, of course, was diagnosed with leukemia, Adriana. And I know this is just a small part from a very small website, but Mike, we're all there hoping for the best for your daughter. Take the time that you need. And when you get back, we will look forward to seeing you back on the field. Hopefully in the role that you're supposed to play. With that said, Mike, let's talk a little bit about Kipnis. We have talked a lot about Jason Kipnis over the past 3 years, of course, potting at Innings Baseball Insider and Cleveland Sports Insider, now here at EHC. We've had some up and down podcasts with Jason Kipnis, but this certainly fits his MO. He's a guy who always seems to find these streaks, and when he's on, there are Mike Trout-like numbers, to be perfectly frank with you. And he is in one of those streaks right now. Now he's hitting near 500, on base percentage over 400. This is a guy who's just lighting up baseball right now, and maybe the best player in baseball right now. And again, I'm not talking forever and ever, so don't get too, don't start nailing me on Twitter, but you can make a case that right now he's about playing the best of anybody. I guess, Mike, my question to you is this, and I don't want to kind of look future. I do want to stay in the present, but this is what's always frustrated me with Kipnis is you see he dances with brilliance. He dances with the big boys, and then it seems to go away, mainly because of his style of play and injury, and he's run into some injury issues, especially last year. I ask you, Mike, you see this and you ask yourself, could he do this over a longer stretch than, say, a month? Is this a Kipnis that we could see last through September and carry this club? Is this the hitter that we've been looking for? Or are we in for another one of those big months followed by an okay month? What's your thoughts? I mean, he plays so hard. Can he get the help that he needs not to have to be the guy that runs through the wall every night?
I think one of the things I really worry about is his second halves, and he just has a couple of them. But if you look at his second halves, he looks like a guy who just wears down. I think it's pretty clear that 2014 was the outlier in terms of overall production. But, I think one of the concerns is that he gives you one elite top 10 player of baseball or top 15 player in baseball sort of month. And then what you get from the rest of the months is how the whole is kind of evaluated. We're getting an awesome month of play right here. And to me, it's whether he can stay healthy enough and protect his body enough to be productive and not be, we're not in a peak and valley first and second half situation. I don't know whether that's doable. I'd be throwing a dart at the board. I love Kipnis. The thing I love the most about Kipnis is that we've beaten the crap out of him for 3 years for playing second base. And he went in this offseason. He got leaner, and he's playing second base like a maniac. He's playing second base like an above-average defender. Visually, statistically, he looks so much better, and I love guys who do that. Kipnis just busts his butt, and I love that. I love that he got better, which you don't
Well,
see a lot of guys do
shame,
that.
shame on us. I mean, the last time that he was berated for being a second baseman was when he was in the minor leagues. Nobody thought he could do it. If you recall, he and Chisenhall were the guys coming up. Chisenhall rated ahead of Kipnis. Most people assumed, quote unquote, in the know, assumed that Kipnis couldn't be an effective second baseman. I'm not saying that he was an all-star, and I'm not saying he was even above average, but I think that the Jason Kipnis we got during that first stretch when he got called up in July, I think it was 2012 or was it 2013? I can't remember off the top of my head. But the defense that we saw was adequate. And this is coming from a guy who played outfield his entire career. Shame on us for not believing that a guy this scrappy. And I mean, you can hear it in his voice. You could hear it in his voice last night. He's pissed off that they lost. He comes out tonight, continues his awesome play. Shame on us. I mean, are we taking this guy for granted? I mean, we saw the month that he had that June 2 years ago where he literally had maybe the best month in all of baseball that year. Are we taking this guy for granted? I mean, listen, you and I are at the top of the list I've been calling for him to get off of second base for 2 years. Shame on us.
Yeah. I think I'm so impressed by him this season. Kipnis has been the most impressive member of this team. I think a week and a half ago, they were struggling. They won a game. Kipnis went off, and Bauer in a press conference didn't name a name, but he said, the leaders talked tonight and the leaders produced tonight, and we learned who the leader was. And it was pretty clear that he was referring to Jason Kipnis. And, I think Gomes is really important. I think he's an essential leader, but I think Kipnis is a guy that, he's dirty. Sometimes at second base, he doesn't look super athletic. In the last year, there are obvious reasons why, but it's so rare in Major League Baseball for a guy to get better the later in his 20s he gets defensively. It just doesn't happen. It's super rare. And Jason Kipnis cares enough that he did. And it's not that the other guys don't care. It's that usually your athleticism, as every 100 games goes on your tires, you fade. You get worse. And Jason Kipnis got better because he busts his butt. And that I would love that on my team, and I love watching him play.
Well, and the great part about it is at 28, he's entering his 4-year prime. This could be, I'd like to see that wear down. I'd love to see the rest of this team pick it up. I mean, you saw Moss tonight with a big hit, but you still can make a case that other than that upper part of that order, Brantley's even struggling a bit right now. Some very un-Brantley-like at bats over the past couple of days. Love to see the rest of this team pick them up. So here's my question, Mike, before we come back to Kluber, because I do want to talk about this 18 strikeout performance. Are you concerned about the rest of this lineup without Gomes? Obviously, I think we're a couple weeks out from Gomes at this point. Maybe the way that he's going, it might be earlier than that. It seems like he wants to come back quickly. But even with Gomes in there, does this team have what it takes offensively to allow a guy like Kipnis to not feel like he has to be the guy every single night?
Yeah, absolutely. Offensively, they absolutely do. And I think I would say that the front five are always going to be ultra productive. And, Francona I've been rough on, and I think it took him too long to move Bourne down the lineup. But Kipnis, Santana, Brantley, Moss, and whoever else is swinging the bat well as a top five is really good. And it's really good because it has a lot of power and a really high walk rate. Obviously, I think one of the issues that you're going to look at is, some people are going to say is Moss and Santana have really good walk rates and they have great OBPs, but people are going to complain about batting average, and I get that. And sometimes I think it's ugly. On the other hand, the Indians have the second highest contact rate in Major League Baseball. I think people don't really realize how much contact and how much strikeout rates are actually increasing. The offense is really, really solid. And the last time I checked, 6 or 7 of the everyday starters or below what I would expect their batting average on balls in play to be. Kipnis is really the only one who's outperforming his BABIP right now. So I think the offense is going to be solid. It's going to be a top 10 Major League Baseball offense. The real question to me with this team is whether the bullpen gets its act together, because the rotation is great, but McAllister's got to be used a lot more in high leverage, and Allen has to get it together. And if McAllister and Allen are great, if they're solid, this team is going to win 85 games, and then whatever you get on top of that is gravy. If they aren't solid, this team might not win 80 games. So, I think they're the real pivot as to how this team performs.
Well, so, the question is, I think maybe we'll get into this in the next podcast. Do the Indians have supplemental guys to fill in that bullpen? And we've been bantering some guys around on Twitter, but I do want to stay away from that today. I want to get back to Kluber's 18 strikeout performance. Of course, if you're just tuning in, Kluber 18 Ks tonight, dominated that game, only in 8 innings. I'm curious now, Mike. I want to go back in time. We have 18 other guys who've struck out 18. I wonder how many of them came out in the 8th. That's my curiosity. I think that could be an interesting stat maybe for a piece in the next day or two. Okay, so let's talk a little about this. I think the thing that most everybody was talking about on Twitter was, should he come out for the 9th inning? I am an unadulterated yes. Normally I would say take him out, but I mean, he had an opportunity. He had an opportunity at some elite history tonight. The way he was going, I don't think it's a stretch to say he could have struck out the side in the 9th. I don't know if people can count, but that would mean 21 Ks. Mike, should they have left him in the game?
This is so tough. I think it's going to be determined by what happens in the first hitter or two, which means he's only going to go to like 122 pitches. So to me, if you're talking about if you're talking about 7 or 8 pitches changing the arm health of a guy, I don't know. It's not a science. You can't tell me that's true. I think that's an issue. I would have sent him back out there. Absolutely. I think that we will always remember Kerry Wood because he had 20 strikeouts in a game and he really didn't have a great career, and he should have because of arm health. I think that Corey Kluber is an incredible pitcher who won't have a Hall of Fame career, and he had a moment to write his name on the wall in history books tonight, and I would have liked to have seen him get the opportunity to do so. I really would. I think he deserved it. I think it's
just
frustrating.
1K, just 19. 19 is a pretty big deal in Cleveland Indians history. I mean, not only is it Bob Feller's number, but it breaks Bob Feller's record. And I think Cody Allen might have struck out the first guy he faced, just saying.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't send him out there. I get it. But people out there who are kind of supporting not sending him out there are acting like there's some magic number with pitch count where protecting him is okay. Secondarily, I'm really excited that Cody Allen pitched well, but I wasn't just worried about the strikeout. I honestly thought that Corey Kluber was the best chance for the Indians to close the game out in the 9th inning right now, and that really matters to me. And that's also where this move kind of bothered me. I don't super trust Cody Allen right now, and I think Kluber earned the right to go finish that game, and I think – whatever.
So I do want to say this. It was good seeing. I mean, it's clearly a high leverage situation for Cody Allen, up to with a whole lot of weight on his shoulders for protecting a guy like Kluber. And this is where momentum comes back in, Mike, as we come kind of full circle as we start to wrap this up. It was a big deal for Cody Allen today. I don't want to get into ERA or anything like that, but he's just been bad this year. Might this have been a great way for Allen to turn things around? I mean, he looked great.
He did. This is why, it was great. There's just the best outcome for this game happened tonight. And I know people wanted a no-hitter, and I really would have liked Kluber out in the 9th. Now that Allen succeeded, I'm really happy about the decision because I think it's probably positive for Allen. I'd like to see him get 2 or 3 good appearances in a row going. So that was exciting to me. But I think, gosh, I haven't been this excited about this team in a while. I know, a single game performance really skews you. But I think Kluber getting results was a huge deal to this team. I think Kluber no matter what I can say about FIP and XFIP and sabermetrics, when your ace is losing a lot of games, when the former Cy Young Award winner is not getting results, when the team isn't winning, when your best pitcher and the best pitcher in the American League last year is struggling, that really hurts. That's really frustrating. That eats at you. And I think him getting off the schneid, even though he was pitching well beforehand, has a really positive impact on this team.
Definitely does. Tomorrow, Indians come in, 12-10 game. Interesting matchup. Trevor Bauer, who struggled a bit in his past couple of starts, Mike, going up against a guy in Indians lore for odd reasons, Michael Wacha, pitching really well, 5.0, 2.09 ERA. Big deal tomorrow. They got to beat this guy. Will Bauer do it? Is this the moment we're looking for? Can the Indians offense overcome a pitcher who's hot in Wacha? And is Trevor Bauer, can he now build off of Corey Kluber's momentum? What's your thoughts? What's your inclination?
We're gonna win tomorrow. I put it up tonight for the game. Gonna win. Kluber on the mound. Gonna go win the game. We're gonna win tomorrow. It's gonna happen. Everybody pack it in. We're winning the game tomorrow. I'm gold. It's okay. You can trust me. If you want to go bet, that's okay. I'm not a money back guarantee. I'm not going to say that. If you want to go put some money down tomorrow, go do it, because the Indians are going to go get that game tomorrow, and we're going to have a lot better taste in our mouths when we go out on Friday night.
There you have it. I'm just telling you, Hattery's predicted Salazar, predicted Kluber, threw up some stats tonight before Ken Rosenthal, which I was very impressed with, which we haven't even talked about, but we don't have time. We're going to wrap this thing up. I'm telling you, man, throw it in on Mike. Go all in. Just remember, EHC does not endorse anything that he says. Except for when he's right. With that said, we're gonna close up shop. If you haven't read Mike's piece, it's up right now in EHC. Corey Kluber kind of maybe read your piece, Mike, and kind of followed up on that. We also have a ton of other really good quality content up this week. So make sure you check out our site at www.everybodyhatescleveland.com. Check Mike out on Twitter at HatmanEHC. Check me out on Twitter at JimPeteEHC. And God willing, we're going to be podding a lot more. I say that every podcast and weeks go by without pods, but damn, it was really exciting tonight. And I have a feeling we're going to be snowballing this thing. So Indians tomorrow at 12:10. All of us working grunts will probably be sneaking some peeks and tweeting out there. So make sure you join us at everybodyhatescleveland.com. Mike, anything you'd like to plug other than the obvious?
No. Read that piece. I think Nino has a really cool book review going up for a sort of pop culture and also Indians meeting in the middle that people should definitely read. I love reading Nino's stuff. He's done some lit reviews already that I've really enjoyed, so I think it's definitely worth your time. That's coming out probably.
Yeah, it's going up at midnight tonight on Greg Proops, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
good stuff.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, we also one of our best writers, Brian McPeak, put up a nice Cavs piece tonight talking about LeBron James and how he has changed over the past 11 years, going from that athletic stud that he was when he was 20 to this player at 30 who maybe isn't quite as athletic, but is so much better in so many other ways, and who can turn that athleticism on as he did last night against the Bulls. Tomorrow's a big day. We got a whole day of sports. We got the Indians at 12:10. We got the Cavs following up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock to hopefully kill the Bulls. And could be a great day in Cleveland sports, Mike. I'm not going to put my hopes on it because sometimes when we do that, we're let down, but should be a fun day nonetheless. Join us here at everybodyhatescleveland.com, the podcast. We should be joining you real soon. And rumor has it I won't be hosting all these things, so maybe they'll actually be enjoyable. With that said, go Indians. We'll see you next time.